You know, we're about to explore a force that's just as real and predictable as gravity itself. It's a force that controls what you see and what you completely ignore online. It's called attention gravity. And in a world that is just drowning in digital noise, understanding this invisible pull isn't just an option. It's really the only chance you have to be heard.
So let's start with a really powerful and maybe even a little bit of an uncomfortable truth. For decades, we've all been taught to believe that a great product and a strong message are enough. But this completely ignores our own biology. You see, our brains aren't these wide-open doors. They're more like highly evolved elite security guards standing at a gate, designed for a quiet, predictable world. And now they are just completely overwhelmed by the chaos of the digital age.
I want you to just let that number sink in for a second. 99%. Think about it. Out of 100 things that cross your vision right now, your brain actively throws 99 of them in the trash before you're even consciously aware of it. And here's the kicker. That's not a bug, it's a feature. It's a brilliant survival mechanism to conserve precious mental energy. But if you're the one trying to get a message across, well, it's a monumental problem. You're not just fighting other ads for attention, you are literally fighting the fundamental design of the human brain. And that is what we call the invisibility crisis.
So how in the world do we fight back? Well, here's our roadmap for this explainer. First, we're going to dig into the invisibility crisis. Then we'll uncover the gravity effect, the secret to pulling attention in. We'll look at the actual science of attention that powers it all, lay out a practical blueprint for mastery, and finally, we'll shift our entire mindset towards something called engineering visual disruption. Okay, so let's really define the problem we're up against. The invisibility crisis isn't about just making better ads. It's about acknowledging that the default state of every ad, every post, every single piece of content is to be ignored. You don't win the fight for attention with a clever tagline 10 seconds in. I mean, by then, the battle is long over, you've already lost. The real war is waged and won in those first few moments, against our brain's ruthlessly efficient filter.
The main villain in our story is this fascinating quirk of the mind called inattentional blindness. It's basically your brain on autopilot. Just picture yourself scrolling through your phone. You're not really looking at anything, are you? You're just scanning, your thumb flicking, waiting for something, anything to grab you. Your brain is just coasting to save energy. And in this mode, you literally do not see things that are right in front of your face if they don't break the pattern. It's the exact same reason you can stare into the fridge and somehow not see the ketchup that's right there. And that's how most advertising becomes completely, utterly invisible. And here it is. This is your deadline, 1.4 seconds. Study after study shows that's the average time you have to hook someone before the thumb just keeps on moving. It is a brutal, unforgiving window. Everything you've invested, the budget, the creativity, the strategy, all of it can just evaporate in this first second and a half. So, the most important thing to get is this. Success isn't determined at the end of your message. It's decided right here, in this blink and you'll miss it moment.
Okay, so if our brains are biologically wired to ignore pretty much everything, how does anything ever break through? Well, this brings us from the problem to the solution, the gravity effect. We have to stop thinking about pushing our messages out at people. Instead, we need to learn how to pull their attention in. We have to create a psychological force that's so powerful it can override the brain's natural tendency to just filter and ignore.
And that right there is the core promise of this whole idea. What if grabbing attention wasn't some unpredictable art form, a matter of luck or viral magic? What if it was a predictable science? What if you could engineer a psychological pull, a gravity, that reliably draws the eye and stops the scroll every single time? It's not about getting lucky, it's about understanding and applying a specific system designed for that ruthless 1.4-second window.
The first part of this force is disruption. And no, this isn't about just being loud or obnoxious. It's about strategically interrupting the visual pattern. Your brain on autopilot is a master at spotting and ignoring what's familiar. It sees another polished ad that looks just like every other ad and immediately tunes it out. So, disruption is about deliberately violating those expectations. A shocking color in a muted feed, a weirdly slow movement when everything else is fast, a sudden shift in size. It's a high-contrast visual jolt that basically screams at the brain, hey, this is different, you need to look at this.
But here's the thing. Disruption alone is a trap. A visual jolt without any meaning is just confusing, and an annoyed brain is a brain that scrolls away even faster. That's why the disruption has to be instantly followed by the second, critical component, the relevance bridge. This is the immediate psychological payoff. The moment their attention is captured, the viewer's brain is asking one simple question: why should I care?
The relevance bridge answers that question, connecting the visual shock to a personal hook, telling the brain, hey, this is worth your energy.
These two elements have to work in perfect harmony. We call it the synchronicity loop, and they are completely inseparable. Think of it like a 1-2 punch. First, the disruption shatters the visual pattern. Immediately, and I mean instantaneously, the relevance bridge provides the why. When you perfectly synchronize these two events inside that tiny 1.4-second window, you create the anchor. The scroll stops. The thumb freezes. The brain is now convinced this is worth its time, and it switches from passive scanning to active engagement.
And this brilliant synchronization is what creates the transformation. When you engineer it correctly, your message is no longer just another piece of ignorable, invisible digital noise. It becomes an immediate necessity. You've successfully done the impossible. You've hijacked the brain's filtering system, and you've convinced it that stopping to pay attention is a valuable use of its limited resources. You've created gravity.
Now, this isn't just some clever marketing theory. It's actually grounded in decades of cognitive neuroscience research into how our brains actually process the world. So let's get into the science, because this is where we discover just how predictable and powerful this force can truly be.
To really get the science, we need to know about two different modes of thinking, famously described by the psychologist Daniel Kahneman. System 1 is our autopilot. It's fast, it's intuitive, and it's incredibly energy efficient. It's how you drive a familiar route home without really thinking about it. This is the autopilot scroll. System 2 is the opposite. It's our conscious mind. It's slow, deliberate, and energy hungry. It's what you use to solve a math problem or navigate an unfamiliar city. This is the intentional scroll stop. The entire goal of attention gravity is to use a specific trigger to jolt the brain out of that lazy System 1 and force it into the engaged System 2.
So what is that specific trigger? Well, it's a powerful cognitive bias known as the isolation effect, sometimes called the von Restorff effect. And the principle is elegantly simple. Our brains are hardwired to notice and to remember things that are different from their surroundings. If I show you a list of 10 words printed in black ink and just one word is printed in bright red, which one are you going to see first and remember later? The red one, every single time. That is the isolation effect in action.
This effect is the neurological engine that drives the disruption part of our synchronicity loop. I mean, our brains evolved in a dangerous world. We're noticing novelty. The one red berry in a bush of green leaves, the sudden rustle in the tall grass was the key to survival. In the digital jungle, we can trigger this exact same deep-seated instinct with extreme contrast. When the brain detects this high-contrast anomaly in a sea of predictable visual patterns, it forces an override of the System 1 autopilot. It's like a neurological alarm bell that says, stop scrolling, analyze this. This is not like the others.
Okay, so we've covered the crisis, the core mechanism, and the deep science behind it. Now for the most important part. How do we actually use this? Let's translate all this theory into a practical, actionable blueprint for engineering attention gravity. But before we look at the steps, we have to come back to our merciless deadline, 1.4 seconds. This number has to be burned into our minds. It governs every single decision in this framework. The pattern has to be broken, and the reason for that break, the relevance, must be delivered almost instantaneously. If you fail here, nothing else matters.
So here's the 3-step framework. First, execute the pattern interruption audit. This means you have to become a student of the environment. I mean, literally open the app where your message will live and just scroll. What do you see? Fast cuts, earthy pastel colors, user-generated style videos. Write down the norms. Your job is to create the exact opposite. Second, define the 1.4-second relevance link. What is the single most important promise you can make, or problem you can solve? That needs to be the first thing they see or hear. Not welcome to our page, but something like stop wasting time on X. It has to be that direct. And third, enforce a singular visual anchor. To maximize that isolation effect, you need one uncluttered focal point, a single, bizarre, unforgettable thing. Don't dilute its power with 5 other things competing for attention. One strong, high-contrast anchor is infinitely more powerful.
And this is a really crucial point. This framework shifts our focus away from the vague, mysterious goal of just being more creative and moves us toward the concrete, repeatable strategy of engineering disruption. It's not about waiting around for a lightning bolt of genius to strike. It's about methodically analyzing a system and building something designed to predictably win within its rules.
This leads us to our final and maybe most important shift in thinking. This isn't just a collection of tactics, it's a fundamental change in how we have to approach communication in the modern world.
It's about accepting the biological reality of how attention actually works and building our strategies around that reality, not in spite of it.
Just let this sink in. The best idea in the world, the most life-changing product, the most beautifully crafted message, all of it is completely worthless if it doesn't survive the first 1.4 seconds. The single biggest point of failure in all communication today is not the pitch, it's the opening. It is the failure to earn the right to deliver that pitch by first winning that initial, fleeting moment of attention.
And this really brings us to the ultimate takeaway. We need to stop thinking in terms of pushing people down a path they don't want to take. Our goal should be to create an irresistible pull toward the value we offer. And that pull, that gravity, is created when we have the discipline to engineer the visual disruption and synchronize it perfectly with genuine relevance.
So I'll just leave you with this question. As you go back to your own social feeds, you now have the blueprint. You can kind of see the matrix. You understand the science being used to direct your gaze second by second. So now that you know precisely how your attention is being pulled and anchored, will you ever be able to scroll with that same unconscious autopilot again? Or have you just become a conscious observer of the silent war for your attention?